Hey, this is Darren from Property Prosperity. Today I thought I'd have a bit of a chat about selling your home yourself. And so, a lot of people think it's a pretty good idea. And, at the end of the day, if you just want to get your home sold, then, how hard can it be, really? And obviously if you're going to sell your house and if you can sell it yourself, you're going to save quite a bit of money as well. If you think what an agent might charge, they might charge, five or 10 or 15 or $20,000 to sell your house. And when you equate that back, you think, man, I could have a week off work and then sell my house as well. So, if you look at it, if you understand what an agent does, and if your understanding of what an agent does is, they put an advert on the internet, they create a few little brochures, they create some, little flyers to hand out, knock on a few doors, come along to some opens, put an advert on the internet, put a signboard out the front. And when you think they're getting paid, $10,000 or $15,000 just to do that, you really got to wonder when you weigh that back yourself. Might as well have some time, take some time off work yourself and just put it on the market. So, because you really look at the agents, what they actually do for you. Look at it as a total cost, really. And then when you think about, what they're actually doing for how much they're charging, you really got to wonder: is there any value in what they do? So, the reason why this understanding is flawed is because a lot of people, and to be honest, a lot of agents don't really understand what the role of the agent is. A lot of people and a lot of agents as well think their job is to put an advert on the internet and put a sign out the front and rock up to the opens and hand out a few flyers, and then someone puts in an offer and they drive around their house and they sign a contract and they come back to the owner and they drive backwards and forwards. If that's all the agent's doing, then you can hire someone for $25 an hour and you can get them to do it, or the amount the agents are charging, you can do it yourself, really. So if that's all an agent's doing when they're selling your house, then definitely sell the house yourself, because the amount of money you're going to save by not using an agent relative to what they're going to cost you is going to be massive. So the thing to understand, that's not what an agent's supposed to do, even though that's what a lot of agents do. What the role of the agent is to do is, the role of the agent is to be an expert marketer of the property. So their job is to present the property, but also my logic with marketing's about getting the most amount of people to come and actually have a look at your property. Because if no one's going to come and buy your property if they don't come and have a look at it. So the whole point of it is to get as many people there as possible to come and have a look at your property. And that's all about how you present the property. And that's going to come from the start, which is marketing on the internet. So really high quality photos, high quality video, high quality story that's going to be like the blurb, the story that's advertising there has to be to a high standard. Because that's the first thing that people are going to buy, is they're going to determine whether they want to get in their car and have a look at your house in the first place. So my first point to you is, if you have the skills to, know how to get high quality photographs and high quality video, how to, communicate and express in a really solid way on how to get people to get in their car and have a look at your property, then that's one thing you can do yourself. So if you have the skills to be able to do that, then tick that off. That's definitely something you can do. Next thing is, do you have the skills to be able to present the property in the best possible way, as far as when people come to the open, hopefully they get in their car and have a look at it. Are you going to know what to do in your house and what not to do to impress people? It's amazing how often I see people who prepared their house for sale, and they've spent, quite often they spent quite a lot of money getting the house ready for sale, and I've found they've done things they probably didn't need to do, probably hasn't added a lot of value. And likewise, some of the things they probably could have done, because they've spent it on the wrong things, they didn't have any money left to spend on things that are going to add value to the house. So, and unfortunately, that's something, really you only get by experience. When you've been involved in, hundreds or thousands of property transactions, you start to see the things that are going to make a difference when you sell your property, and things that aren't going to make a difference when you sell your property. And to be honest with you, that's something that's experience. It's only experience is going to get that sort of knowledge and experience and expertise, I suppose. So that's running the open inspection, working out how do we get lots of people there, and how do we present it in the best possible way. And once they come there, how do we communicate with buyers to explain about the property and make sure we're not misleading people, but also pointing out all the good things and overcoming any objections they may have. Obviously, everyone's got objection. If you're out buying a property, you want to get it for the cheapest price, so you're not going to be coming in there saying how awesome you think the house is. You're going to be pointing out all the bad things. So part of the skill of the agent is to be able to sit there and understand how to communicate with buyers in a way that's actually going to enhance the value of the property just by the way you talk to people, really. So that's the next stage, the communication process. Once they come to the open, how do you communicate about the property? And then finally, once they've been to the open, what happens after that? You know, how do you follow them up? How do you communicate them? How do you get them interested so they want to come back for a second look, and they want to try a little bit harder than they otherwise would to make sure they're, you know, putting in the highest possible offer. You know, how do we even get offers? How do we get someone to put in an offer on our property? You know, obviously if you're out there buying, you want to sit back and wait. You want to make sure you're going to get yourself a bargain. So you want to see, you don't really want to be competing against anybody else. You want to see the opportunity to, you know, sit back and wait, and hopefully the price drops and you can get it at a steal. So how do you create that environment where we get people putting in offers and create that environment, that competitive environment? People have to fight against other people to try and pay more money than they otherwise would for your home. So again, if you've got a plan, if you've got a strategy how that's actually going to happen, then you can totally do that yourself. So, you know, you don't necessarily need an agent if you feel like you've got the skill to try and create that competitive environment and get that bidding process happening where people are paying more than they otherwise would. So, and then finally, when you get down to the stage when people are putting offers in, you know, how do we actually negotiate with people when we're sitting across the kitchen room table just saying, you know, well, you need to pay more, essentially. How do we get them to pay more? You know, how do we get them to pay more than they otherwise would want to? And unfortunately, you know, and I've had to learn this by trial and error of selling a lot of my own properties for many, many years before I started selling properties for other clients. It is something you have to learn by trial and error, and you do get to learn how to read people and, you know, how far you can push people. You know, it's a skill to be able to get people to pay, you know, the maximum they're willing to pay, but not do it in a way that's going to offend them. At the end of the day, you never know what the situation is going to be down the track, so you can't go pushing people too far in the sense that they just walk away and they find you arrogant and obnoxious, and they don't want to deal with you in the future, because you never know. If you push them too far, they walk away. You might be left with a second offer, which might be fine. You take the second offer, but then maybe that second offer falls through, which means having to go back to that first person that doesn't want to talk to you anymore, and you've missed that opportunity. So one of the balancing acts is to be able to find a way to juggle the communication with the potential buyers in a way that you're really friendly and do an honest and open way, but letting people know they need to pay, you know, the maximum they're willing to pay. And so that, because at the end of the day, the owner, the agent's responsible for the vendor, really, and their job is to get the highest possible price to the vendor. So they've got to have the skills and knowledge to be able to get the highest possible price. So hopefully you understand a little bit further now what the importance is of the agent. So the importance of the agent is not putting a sign out the front. The importance of the agent is not putting an advert on the internet. It's not making up some brochures. It's not standing there in open inspection handing out a few flyers and then driving around someone's house and signing a contract. The role of the agent is to market the property to an exceptional standard, to present it in such a way that people want to fight for it because they know this house is not like any other house they've ever seen. And then finally, once they get in that situation when they really want to fight for the property and they really want it, how do we get them to pay more than they otherwise would? And how do we create that environment where we've got multiple people fighting over the property to ensure you get the highest possible price? So hopefully that makes sense. Hopefully you can sort of see why an agent can create value. And obviously if you feel like you've got the skills to do that similar sort of, create that situation where people are going to pay more than they otherwise would, then fine, go out and sell the property yourself. If you don't feel like you do have those skills, then what you then have to ask yourself is my agent going to add more value than they cost me? So if an agent's going to charge you 10 grand to sell your house, or 15 or 20 grand, or whatever they're going to charge you to sell your house, are they going to sell the house for more than that price? Essentially, if they're going to sell it for more than that price, they're not costing you any money. You know, I've got many, many examples where I've sold a house for $40,000, $50,000, $60,000, $70,000 more than an identical house next door, purely because of the way that I market a property and the way I negotiate on a property. And I know, because the house next door is identical, there's not any difference between my house and their house, and it was sold at a relatively similar time period, and the market hadn't changed at all. And I know it was purely because of the way I marketed and negotiated a house that I added, $50,000, $60,000 of value to that house. So from the owner's perspective, fair enough, they paid me $10,000 to sell the house, but I've added $60,000 in value. So essentially, I've made them $50,000. So you can see now why the cost to the agent almost becomes redundant, because as long as the agent is adding more value than they actually charge you, then who cares? And then going back, sort of weighing up, oh gee, how many hours is the agent going to spend to try and sell my property, and what's that equate to, how much I get paid per hour? It doesn't really matter at the end of the day. It doesn't matter if your agent gets out there and can sell it in a week, but gets you, $50,000, $60,000 more than you otherwise would have got if you tried to sell it yourself, then it doesn't matter whether they charge you $10,000 to sell it in a week. Because essentially, at the end of the day, you don't want an agent that's going to take 12 months to sell your house, because that's not going to be good for anybody. You're going to sell it for a lot less than you otherwise would if it's been on the market for 12 months, and it's just not a good situation. It is a pain in the ass selling your house. You don't really want to have open inspections every weekend for 12 months. So you really want to sell it as quickly as possible. You need to make sure you're going to sell it for the highest possible price and don't just give away the property. So you're going to make sure the skills your agent is going to ensure you get the highest possible price, and that all comes down to marketing skills and negotiating skills. So they're the number one and number two things you're going to make sure your agent is going to be able to provide to you. And if they're not going to do that for you, and all they're going to do is hand out a few flyers and drive around with a contract, then yeah, maybe you should sell your house yourself. So hopefully that's made sense, and hopefully you've liked what I had to say. If you have liked it, click on the like button. If you haven't liked it, still click on the like button because I really appreciate it. And if you know someone that's out there either trying to sell their house at the moment or thinking about selling their house, click on the share button. Hopefully they'll find it interesting. And even if they are selling their house themselves or you're thinking about selling your house yourself, I'm happy to give you some tips. So feel free to send me a message. I'm happy to point out some things you need to think about if you are trying to sell your house. And obviously if you want some guidance, feel free to drop me a line. And yeah, if you've got something you'd like me to talk about in a future episode, put a comment in the comment box, and I look forward to talking again soon. Thanks guys, talk next time. Bye.